Public health propaganda reached new heights this past weekend when Brazilian authorities lit up the very famous statue of Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, lit it up in a line that says, "Vaccine saves." Very creepy, extremely sacrilegious, and also just not true. You know how I know this? I know this with scientific certainty. 100% of people who get the vaccine will die. I know that. YouTube's going to try to shut me down for that. It is simply a scientific fact. 100% of people who get the vaccine will die. Now, they're probably not going to die tomorrow. Very possibly the vaccine will extend their lives, but they will die. This substitute religion is ridiculous. And so many people these days are beginning to tune it out. They are realizing that the public health establishment has not only lost its credibility, has not only misled people in so many ways, but it is also grabbing so much power that it does not deserve. Political power and religious power as well. And many, many people are tuning it out. People are beginning to tune out, if they haven't already. They're certainly now beginning to tune out the public health propagandists who are taking a lot of power for themselves. Notably, Eric Clapton. You know Eric Clapton, very famous, one of the most famous rock musicians in the world. Eric Clapton is saying things that could get him kicked off of YouTube. Here's what he's saying. I'm just going to report what he's saying, because if I were to say it, I could run the risk of being kicked off of YouTube. That is how closely tied in the big tech industry is with the bureaucracy, with the government, with the Public Health Administration. So I'm just going to read what Eric Clapton said and his experience of the vaccine. He said, quote, "I took the first jab of AstraZeneca and right away had severe reactions which lasted 10 days. I recovered eventually and was told it could be 12 weeks before the second one. About 6 weeks later, I was offered and took the second AstraZeneca shot, but with a little more knowledge of the dangers. Needless to say, the reactions were disastrous. My hands and feet were either frozen, numb, or burning, and pretty much useless for 2 weeks. I feared I would never play again." This guy is one of the most famous guitarists ever, in popular music. And so that's a very big fear. He goes on, "I suffer with peripheral neuropathy and should never have gone near the needle, but the propaganda said the vaccine was safe for everyone." So here's the issue. Okay, I am not telling any tales out of school here. Okay, I'm not saying anything that is a conspiracy theory or anything like that. Remember, they paused a vaccine because there were rare, but significant side effects. Only affected a very small number of people, but they were very, very as significant as they possibly can be. And you're not really allowed to talk about that. Even when the public health officials come out and say, yes, there have been these rare cases, but we're going to pause certain vaccines, but then we're going to start them again. We, the public, and especially communicators, are not allowed to mention this, or we're called conspiracy theorists and we're called anti-vaxxers or something and taken off of the internet. Now, I'm nothing of the sort, and I'm not even anti-vaccine, generally speaking, but I do think we should be able to report on these sorts of reactions. A lot of people have heard these things anecdotally from friends or relatives or friends of friends, or in this case, from Eric Clapton. But we're not allowed to do that because the scientific matter of the vaccines is not really considered a scientific matter. Just like the scientific matter of the coronavirus is not really considered a scientific matter. It's a political matter whereby public health officials will lie to our faces, right? They'll say, one day they'll say, don't wear the masks don't work. You shouldn't wear the mask, you stupid sheep. I'm paraphrasing our exalted Dr. Fauci. Then 5 seconds later he says, you have to wear the masks. And then later on he justifies it and says that he misled us in the first place because he thought that all of us peasants would go out and buy up the masks and he wanted to save them for the nurses. But now that he knows there's enough masks, he's going to tell us that we need to buy them. Okay, presuming to take a lot of political power, and in the case of Rio, presuming to take the place of Christianity, to supplant Christianity in Rio, for goodness sakes. And on a very famous statue of Christ the Redeemer, a statue that says Christ saves, to cover that up and say, no, vaccine saves, which is to say, the public health officials save. If you do not ring that bell, you will pay the price. I don't want to sound too much like Joe Biden here, but you will. The price you will pay is that you will not get notifications of our new videos. Frankly, you might not get the notifications anyway, based on how YouTube reacts to us a lot of the time. But to give yourself the best shot, ring the bell, like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.